Now it's time for limbing. Work calmly and methodically, as it's easy to get kickbacks. Try to place the trunk so that you can work between waist and knee height. Stand to the left of the trunk and work from the base of the tree upwards. Stand firmly with your feet apart and keep the saw close to your body. Work with both a pulling and a pushing chain, and always try to rest the saw on the trunk or against your hip. Take care not to contact branches with the upper part of the bar nose. Only move when you have the trunk between yourself and the bar of the saw. Branches on the upper side of the trunk can be cut with the saw lying on its side. You can limb the branches on the underside of the trunk at the same time as the rest if you have a good working height. If the tree has large branches, they can be under great tension, in which case you should limb them from the outside and in towards the trunk. Saw with the bar held vertically to reduce the risk of it getting caught. If the branch is very large, you might have to cut it from two sides. Observe how the branches are tensioned so that you can saw them from the correct side. Otherwise, there is a risk that the saw will get caught. If the tree is lying right on the ground, you'll have to wait with the branches on the bottom until you're finished with the others and can roll the trunk over. Be careful when the trunk is close to the ground, since there's quite a risk that you'll touch something with the tip of the bar, which will cause a kickback. Now you've got cross-cutting left. Study the tree before you start, especially if the trunk is thick. First, try to see how it's tensioned. Watch how the trunk reacts when you start to saw. You might have misjudged the tension. Stand off to the side of the cut, since the trunk can jump up when it comes apart. Never stand below the trunk if the ground is sloping. If the trunk lies so that the pressure comes from above, start with a cut from above. Saw about 1/3 of the way through the trunk or until it starts to pinch the bar. Then cut from underneath to meet the first cut. If instead the trunk lies so that the pressure comes from below, you work the other way round. Start by sawing from underneath about 1/3 of the way through the trunk or until it starts to pinch the bar. Then cut from above to meet the first cut. If the bar gets stuck, don't try to pull out the saw. Instead, stop the engine, bend open the trunk until the saw comes loose. When you've finished work, it's a good idea to take a look at your saw to make sure it's functioning properly, is safe and ready to go the next time you need it. Of course, maintenance requirements depend on how much you use the saw. Filing the chain is an important part of maintaining the saw, and it's not difficult if you use Husqvarna's instructions and equipment. It's easiest if you file the chain relatively frequently. Fix the saw in place, lock the chain by activating the chain brake. Start with the cutting teeth. Place the file gauge on the chain with the arrows pointing towards the bar nose. Place the file at right angles to the rollers. File every second tooth with an even pushing stroke. Then turn the saw around and file the rest of the cutting teeth. About every third time you file the cutting teeth, file the depth gauges between them as well. Hold the file gauge steady with one hand, select hard or soft depending on which type of wood you normally saw, and file the depth gauge until the file contacts the file gauge. After a number of sharpenings, when the longest part of the cutting tooth is less than 4 mm, the chain should be replaced. Remove the bar and put the new chain in place. Adjust the chain tension carefully. A loose chain can jump off, and if it's too tight, it will wear out the bar. You should be able to lift the chain approximately 1 centimeter from the track at the middle of the bar, and it should be easy to pull the chain around by hand. When it comes to other maintenance, there are a few parts that require cleaning now and then. Remove the clutch cover and clean the chain brake band. You should also clean the bar occasionally. Remove the cylinder cover and wash the air filter. Clean the cooling fins and the air intake if necessary. Check periodically that the flywheel fins are clean to ensure good engine cooling. There are other things that should be checked periodically to make sure that they're working as they should. In particular, the chain brake, throttle control and chain catcher. Also check that the chain lubrication hole isn't blocked and that the chain drive wheel is whole and not too worn. See that screws, bolts and nuts are tightened. Read more about service in the saw's user's manual. We hope you've learned more about how to use a chainsaw properly. It might seem like a lot to take in, but with a little practice, you'll soon become competent with the saw. Try to bring along an experienced person at the beginning and study the user's manual and Husqvarna's manual on chainsaw techniques. We hope you'll enjoy using your saw and that you'll be satisfied with the results of your work.